Hello, welcome to episode number 14 of the Speaking Podcast. I'm your host, Roy Collin. This week I interviewed Dabrowski, who is the president of one of the clubs. And Daniel, where can they find us?
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Speaking Podcast. I'm Daniel Collin.
Thank you, Daniel. So, that's where you can find us, or you'll also see on the website speakingpodcast.com. All episodes are different, so you can go back and listen to different episodes, and be sure to share if you enjoy what you're getting, and also give us a positive review. I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Hi, this is Roy Collin of the Speaking Podcast, and today I'm with Radek Dabrowski. And I met Radek when he joined one of the clubs that I'm in, and I have seen him improve immensely, and he's now currently the president of the leadership club. So please welcome Radek.
Hello, Roy. Nice to see you again. Hello, everyone.
So you might tell us, obviously when you came to the club, you were kind of a bit nervous, but your journey from when you were younger, your experience with speaking.
So generally my journey with speaking started in primary school. During some occasions, and special occasions, for example, Mother's Day or something like that related to our teachers, I was invited to the stage to say some poem, say something, and I was quite brave. However, going further and further, when I was in secondary school and then during the studies, I didn't have such opportunities. And generally, when I joined the company where these skills would be required, they were missing in me. The good example was when I was in a company and the witness of all hands meeting, when the board was standing on the stage and saying something to us, and they started asking questions. There were 300 people, and just 2 or 3 of them were able to raise their hands and ask the questions. And I came with an idea how I would behave. I knew how, because I was not in these 3 people who were really brave. So I was totally sure that if I was asked about anything, to say something among such a big group of people, I would fail. And now there was a kind of decision in my head. If I should escape from this challenge, or I should face it. Due to some great people I met in my life, I decided to give it a try in Toastmaster Club, the leadership, as you mentioned. And during my first visit, I will remember it till the end of my life. Roy was the first person. I switched a couple of sentences. I also sat next to him. Do you remember it?
Yes, I remember it.
Yeah, we talked a little bit before the meeting. That's why it helped me to survive and start the meeting much more comfortable and convenient than I expected. Of course, I also was sure that no one is going to ask me about anything. I am brand new. There are many guys in the room, about 20 or more even, so I didn't expect to be asked about anything. However, there is a kind of common in every Toastmaster meeting as a question of the day. So this was the first time when I had to say something. Generally in 30 seconds, so I managed it, and I'm happy about it. But imagine, after all speeches, there was also something this is quite popular in Toastmaster meetings, and it is named table topic session. It was done in pairs, women and men. Every task was related to kind of having a date. I was chosen to the last one. When I believed that I will be omitted, I was not. And generally my task was, you know what, you remember what I had to do?
Was it to propose or something like that?
To propose, will you marry me, and so on. At the first meeting when I was over there, of course I didn't know what to do and if I'm going to manage that. However, I went over there and just did it. Within 2 minutes, I did it somehow. And you know what? After coming back home, I was wondering, but only just for a while, if I should come back or give up. And I made a decision. Okay, if I had a chance to ask, will you marry me, to a stranger, and I managed to do that, I'm not talking about equality, it's not important right now, but generally about overcoming my fear on that day. So I just made a decision that there would be anything more challenging that would, let's say, make me harmful. So it helped me somehow, I believe, and I do not regret that I just went again to the club, and I'm over there till today.
And I think sometimes we have that self-talk. We're kind of, afterwards, we're really analysing what was said, what was done, and we're beating ourselves up instead of just like enjoying the moment. Because we think that people were laughing at us, oh, I made a fool of myself, but not one person is going home thinking about you and what you said, only you.
Yes, right. So I don't hide. There were some faults, as you said. However, I quickly decided to erase them in my mind. Okay, it happened. There's no point to analyze it if it was okay or if it was not. Generally, should it be okay? It was my debut, right? So generally, a kind of showing the braveness from my side was enough encouragement for me to carry on my journey, my adventure in Toastmasters.
And like, I've seen you doing a lot of the speeches, and I'm not sure why I remember, but your very first speech, you were talking about your sports and your basketball and everything. Like, you've seen a lot of speeches as well. Some speeches are very memorable, and others, like, there could be some people, they might have done 30 speeches and you can't remember one. Do you know why that is?
I believe that, especially in my case, the ones I am able to memorize, either about my speeches or yours or anyone else, is the one when I feel that it was said from the depth of your heart. When you feel with the talk, with your speech, comfortable, when you are credible, reliable, audience can hear it. It's not only about the, let's say, visual experience, but also about what they are hearing in your voice and what they can see in your postures. For example, for me, a very important speech was the one when I had a break and decided to come back. After 3 months, somehow I came back to my speeches. But generally, the first of them was named as Overcoming. The goal of the speech was also to overcome myself, to show that I am still on the track. And you know what? I was not. It was a very bad one. But a week later, or something like that, I had the next one. And it was a bit better. It was a bit better. It was not the perfect one I was expecting, but much better than the previous one. And especially that we were closer and closer to area contest. And my plan was to be one of the judges. I had to have one more. And it was my luck. The next one was vocal variety. And this speech will be always in my memory, because this was the first one when I decided to break some rules in myself on the stage. To be visible very much, to be hearable very much, to make laugh somehow at me, to show the distance I've got to myself. Generally, it was my sixth speech that helped me to be a judge, but also somehow it made me free from my previous fears. This is what I remember.
And how do you prepare your speeches?
Very good question. How I prepare my speeches? Generally, I'm trying to sign up for speech, let's say, a month ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. However, it doesn't mean I've got everything prepared. I just have an idea. Of course, the idea is a good one, but it's not enough for 5 to 7 speech. But it's a good beginning. Do you agree?
Yep.
But generally, we have the meetings every Thursday. And you know what? I observed the situation that during the weekend, there was always time when some good ideas came to my head, especially in the evenings. So I tried to write them down and use them. There was Monday, there was Tuesday, and more or less, by the end of Tuesday, everything was completed. But actually, this border moved forward for the last couple of months. And I noticed that actually the things that are going to be added to my speech as a kind of improvement to make my speech more interesting and ear-catching are bringing to my head even at night. So it happens to me quite frequently that, for example, I cannot sleep even till 2 a.m. And on this time, I'm just taking my organizer, my notebook, and trying to write down about the ideas that came to my head. They are different. They are related to my speech, for example. They are related to the things I could do to make some improvements, or just ideas to make our club more visible or better, or to support someone. Everything that is related with some ideas, I'm just taking my notebook and writing down the notes. This is similar to my speeches. But every time when I'm doing that, I avoid the situation to just tick the speech. I need to feel it. If I don't feel the topic, I'm just taking another project where I feel right now. Because what I really appreciate and make a kind of value added is an authentical story, authentical speech. You need to feel it to sell it to others.
Next time, now that you have problems sleeping, you can listen to my podcast. Hopefully it won't put you to sleep, but it might give you some more ideas.
Yeah, good idea. I'm going to follow it.
Even yesterday, you did, let's say, call it a workshop, and you've done workshops kind of 20 to 30 minutes, which is a huge jump from a 5 to 7 minute speech. But I could see that you're extremely confident on stage and everything. How could you advise the listeners when you have to do, say, 30 minutes, how you organize something like that?
Generally, from my perspective, it's not something completely new to me. I'm also a business trainer, so somehow I'm also experienced in leading some workshops related to business things. Of course, it's not the same. Audience is also different. However, the most crucial and important thing to me in having progress in Toastmaster and in public speaking or leading workshops, giving speeches and so on, is the environment we are in. And thanks to the environment we've got in our club, in the leadership where I'm a member, but also in other clubs where I'm a guest, for example, Intent or Speakers of Łódź, we are very friendly in all these clubs. We are very supportive to each other, spend some time for normal chats, but we are also committed to our goals. And generally, what I would like to advise, so first of all, just to try to settle down, to talk to some people, to familiarize with what we are going to do, to have some supporters. This is something similar also when you are in a completely different place, for example, conference, and you are the only one from a group. You don't know anyone. What's the safest way to survive? Just to talk to someone and start conversation, to get a supporter, to get someone who will be supporting you when you are on the stage and someone is among your audience. Of course, it doesn't mean that he or she is going to tell you what you got to do, but you feel it. But you feel it that at least one person has crossed his fingers for your success. So I would start with that. But generally, of course, the good preparation, the knowledge of the topic, and getting self-confidence on the stage is extremely important. And all of this you can get very easily when you're a member of any of Toastmaster clubs, which is a few of them in Łódź, and feel free to be invited. This was the message to all our listeners.
Well, since they're all over the world, they can go into Toastmasters.org, but not necessarily everybody's into Toastmasters. Some people don't even like it or whatever. So, like you mentioned about doing it in work. So, if somebody wasn't in Toastmasters, how could they, improve their skills?
About public speaking, right?
Yeah.
I think this is very good just to watch the videos or listening to this podcast. This is one tip, first tip from my side. Just to watch the people, how they behave, watch and listen to the interviews with them. Because what I really appreciate in people's interviews is admitting to their loss. It's not about promoting their winnings, because we can see that they are on the top. But if someone is not, he's not interested in, okay, how it is on the top, okay, this is my goal. But generally, I would like to understand how you managed being down. What did you do? Who helped you? Or how and by you were inspired that you are so high today? So generally, in my opinion, this is crucial. Just to talk to someone, watch someone, or listening to someone who is experienced. And of course, to be open for new challenges. Generally, I understand because I was in the position that I couldn't imagine the situation to stand up and speak up. However, one day I asked myself a question. Would you like to escape from this situation for all your life? Or you just want to be prepared quite well when the situation appears? You never know when the situation can happen. And generally, those masters also told me in my private life, because last year my older daughter had a first communion. And there was a question to all parents, who is going to read the Bible during first communion mass? And you know what? I raised my hand. Not the only one, because there were two of us, but two of us among about 60 parents. So I think that it means something. If we've got the good environment, we can achieve something. If you don't know about Toastmaster or don't have the possibility, just use the podcast like the series from Roy. Just use the videos from the internet, or try to get an interest on the website about Toastmaster or any other organization that can help you. However, there is always the same factor that makes all this stuff united. They are people. We need to give a trust in people and support them, collaborate with them, because in my opinion, this is the key to success of all of us.
No, exactly. And like I think, like what we both do is we always ask for feedback and we kind of take it into account. So if you're in a business environment, ask people to give you advice so that you can be better the next time. And a lot of people are afraid to look at their videos. Don't be. Or listening to your voice. Go back, look at it, and I would even recommend, if it is on video, to obviously watch it and look at your body movement and everything, but also perhaps just do the audio, just close your eyes, because you might hear the way your vocal variety and everything is, and that way small little changes you can constantly improve.
Good point, Roy. Generally, I started with recording my speeches from Icebreaker, from my first speech. When do you think I decided to watch it?
Probably tomorrow.
I gave try many times, and one day I just decided, but it was about 1 month or even later when I was brave enough to watch it, and I started. There were many acts, there were many stammering. Okay, it was Icebreaker. Anyway, this is English speaking club. Come on, man. You started English lessons when you were 12. That was my words to myself. I couldn't hear it. I was disappointed of my speech. Even if I was evaluated quite well, to have clapping hands for my brave, for my openness, for props that were brought. I was disappointed by myself, by my voice, by something that dropped down of my props on the floor. In the meantime, about some kind of poor preparation. Generally, I gave up an idea of listening to myself. I continued the recordings, but I was not brave enough to listen to them. And I remember that I talked to you a few months later, seeing that you were still recording your speeches. And I asked you on that day, are you still watching them? And you answered me, yes, I do. Because I'm constantly watching what I could improve to make a better performance. And you were right. And I thought, okay, so this guy who is on his very good way to DTM right now, this guy is constantly recording himself because he wants to be better and better. He's so open for criticism and seeing the points for improvement. Why I shouldn't be? That's why I decided to continue myself even with the session that's, for example, yesterday. I'm totally convinced that there are many things to be improved, especially that I got some balance with some points for improvement. That's why I'm really grateful for all of you guys who delivered that. But actually, this is the key. We can do better. How could we know? Just from our listeners? It's not enough. It means very, very much when you can see yourself on the stage, for example, swinging from left to right, for example, licking your lips when you're a bit nervous, and any other details. We should be open for that.
The one, because I look at all of them, but the one that I didn't look at for ages, it was actually only recently, and I've uploaded it to the Speaking Podcast YouTube channel, was my first one, because I had recorded the whole lot. I practiced so many times, and I paused during it, and I was beating myself up saying how bad it was. And when I actually looked at it, it was like, that was actually quite good. It was like my brain was telling me I had made a disastrous speech and I was embarrassed to look at it. And now, I mean, afterwards, the second speech isn't everything I looked at all the time. So I think it makes a difference. And like the one, even the Christmas party, we had an open, like 4 clubs Christmas party, and I was asked to speak. I asked you to record the speech for me, and I've uploaded that onto the YouTube channel as well. And it's nice. It's just nice, and especially when people come to you afterwards and kind of say, "Oh, that touched me. That's after making me think." It kind of encourages you for your speeches as well, when you know you can make an impact to somebody to make change in their life.
I think this is very important, and uploading the speeches, even if they are not perfect ones. Yes. Why? Because this is a kind of encouragement for other people. We are sharing our experience. We are not showing off in here how good I am. We are bringing the message, but also showing that we are still learning. We are still learning about body language, we are still learning about the descriptive language, anything like that. But we are open for feedback because we realize that all together we can do better. You need the message. I'm talking to audience. You're waiting for that. But also the speaker is waiting for the feedback. This is like if in podcast, right? We are doing something right now, for example, we are giving something, we are delivering the message. But after that, there will be some comments, there will be some advices. And this is a very valuable feedback also for us to know how to do better.
When I did open mic, in Much comedy open mic, I was nervous, but I did it. I kind of pushed myself to do it. And the speech was good because they asked me to go to different cities and everything. But afterwards, about 10 people came up to me and they said, "You were tugging at your jacket." So that was like a nervous twitch or something like that. But it was easy to overcome the next time. I just didn't wear the jacket.
Yes, exactly. Yesterday during the meeting, we had also a role of the Toastmaster who was responsible for body language. And I am really grateful for the courage of our friend Tomasz about it. Because probably I wouldn't pay attention, I wouldn't see it when I was on the stage. About the body movement that, for example, I supported all my body on one of my legs. So this kind of posture looks like a bit, let's say, tired or maybe bored with something. We should always control our body, our gestures. Why? Because in these situations, we are convincing. When we are selling ideas, when we are persuading somebody to do something, when we call for actions, we should be convincing. We should be credible. We should be trustful for all people to be followed. So this is crucial to be let's say observed and evaluated, because this is value added for my and your next performances.
Exactly. And the next thing that I'd like to discuss with you is the pathways, because it's the system in Toastmasters has changed. So I'd like you first of all to explain what pathways is, because obviously not every one of my listeners is involved in Toastmasters. So I just want that you could explain what pathways is.
Sure. And pathways is a new educational program in Toastmasters. Generally, we are still in the transition. By the half of the next year, there are going to be still 2 of them. The old one, which was divided slightly into 2 areas. First of them was related to communication, so about giving speeches. The second one about leadership. So for example, leading meetings, preparing table topics, organizing events, and so on and so forth. Currently, we all are doing pathways. And in a year, it's going to be the only one program that is valid. Generally, pathways was invented and implemented in Toastmasters to fulfill the needs of contemporary world. I mean the personal and professional goals. This is rather combined. It's not so divided as the previous one. If we've got a project to give a speech, in old system it was enough. Okay, just prepare a speech 5 to 7 minutes, inspire people and so on. Of course, I'm not saying it is easy, but generally it is a speech. It was a speech. In pathways, it looks a bit different. It helped us that just communication is not enough to achieve something, because we are not lone wolves in the world. We are not alone in the world. There are many people around us, and most of things should be done by a group of people. Maybe not equally given about the tasks, but there are not so many things that are up to us when we want to make a change of something. That's why, for example, if there is a project to motivate someone, it's not enough to give a speech. The intention of Pathways and the objective is first to build a team of people and present an idea. After that, you're preparing a plan, and later on, you're just assigning tasks to all these people engaged. After completing this project, you are going to present your experience, what you got, what you felt, and the way it can be humorous, it can be informational, anyone you wish. However, during all the project, in the process of doing all these elements, you should include motivational strategies. And this is how it looks like from Pathways perspective. It's much more combined to help you prepared for many situations in our everyday life.
Like there's different, like I'm doing innovative planning, there's dynamic leadership and everything, and like I also see that there's projects creating a blog, a podcast, even though I had decided to do the podcast before I realized that it was part of a project, but there's a load of different things that are related to the current situation that we're in.
Yes, exactly. Conduct a blog or creating podcast. Looking at the previous system, it would look like that. Okay, so I will maybe to tell you what the podcast is and maybe show an example, a kind of sample of podcast. Pathways is much more demanding. For example, as in your example, Roy, you made quite many podcasts so far. So, for example, it's a good example to support the way how Pathways work, because the intention is just to start blog, podcast, anything like that, to be active, to present it, and after that, you are giving a speech with a short sample what you did, but you also sharing your experience, what you saw, what you noticed, how feedback you got, how it influenced on your life, how it influenced on your listeners' life. This is crucial difference between these two educational programs. And as you said, there is innovative planning, there is dynamic leadership. For example, I chose team collaboration, some other people, visionary communication or motivational strategies. There are 10 paths in Pathways, so everyone can choose something for himself. Moreover, it doesn't have to be one path. When you complete one, you can take the next one to be proficient in some different areas. All of them are consisted of 5 levels. Of course, going down from 1 to 5, you're going to be more and more experienced. You're starting with an icebreaker and you are finishing with some kind of reflection on your path. So this is a kind of summary. How it changed your life, how you changed life of others, how you inspired others, or maybe how much you failed and how you managed to go up again. This is the very good example of presenting experience through Pathways.
And what I actually like about it as well is the next part of that is you do a speech and you get an evaluation, and then you can repeat the speech, taking on board the comments that you got. And I have seen people really improve. And another thing is I encourage members to start going to different clubs, do 1 or 2 speeches, especially that thing. It's because you can get really comfortable with the group, whether there's 10 or 20 members, you get comfortable in that environment. So to step out of that comfort zone, going to another club, it makes you more confident, so that if you do go to a situation, like you mentioned at the start, where you're doing an event and you don't know anybody, it doesn't faze you.
Yes, of course. Some people are much more confident when they are performing roles. Tabletop is the quite short one, Toastmaster, timer, and so on. Some other guys are more confident during speeches. However, they do not do it quite frequently. To support them, we are just trying to persuade them and encourage them to take different roles. Okay, if you were an evaluator, just try to organize whole meeting. After that, try to lead the contest, let's say. And also what you said. Next step can be just giving a speech in front of different audience. Because, okay, we are in here, we are the club, we know each other, and somehow we are feeling so good and so familiar with this environment that this is a kind of comfort zone. So to make a next step forward, and a really good challenge for all of us would be to make a speech in front of a different audience, for example, in different club. You can also get some others' advices in your evaluation forms, which is of course very precious to your future development. And also a really good value added for the receivers of your message. For that club, you're giving a speech. Why? Because you're bringing your style, because you're bringing your ideas, your behavior on the stage, and your personality. So this is a win-win situation. I totally recommend it.
And you mentioned earlier that you took a break for about 3 months and you kind of came back and realized you weren't at the same level. I've heard Thomas saying the same, because Thomas is like 10 years a member in different clubs, and he took a year out and he came back and he said he was terrible. I think people need to realize it's like anything in life. Like, I play squash every week, and if I don't play for 2 or 3 weeks, the guys I'm playing, they beat me till I get my level back up. And it's the exact same in speaking. You have to keep practicing. And to think that you can just do 20 speeches and then you're a speaker, forget that. You have to get constantly sharpening it and be on stage.
Obviously, I got the same feeling when I used to play table tennis with my friend. So there was time when I was a winner. For example, we played 10 or 12 matches during the training, and most of them I won. But when I had a break and he practiced with his friends and I came back, I lost almost to 0. So exactly this is something what you said. When I came back to Toastmasters, I felt on the stage probably more thrilled than even during icebreaker. Why? Because for my icebreaker, my mentor, my friends, all the club somehow was prepared and waiting for, so we discussed it many times. However, when I came back, it was not something that was, let's say, popularized or enhanced specifically. And to be honest, I felt quite risky and a bit in danger, because I realized that, okay, I started something, I achieved some level, basic level, but always a level. But on that day, I felt the same if I would start from the beginning. It was a very harmful stuff. Even if you've got no idea for a speech, you can look for that by talking to people, to your mentor, to your colleagues, to your friends, to your beloved ones, to people also outside of Toastmasters. If not, if you're still not comfortable with the topic, just wait, but not wait outside of Toastmasters. Just take roles, to be on the stage, to tame the stage, because this is a very important decision, not to break your presence over there in front of the people. Even if you are a timer or evaluator, you don't give a speech 5 to 7 minutes or longer. It's a shorter one, but actually you're still appearing, you're still present on the stage, and you're still familiar with the speaking that are watching at you and is going to evaluate you. So it's going to help you to be on the rock, to be still in the game, and be prepared when the idea comes up in your head. It's just a matter of have it sorted out. The structure should be ready, and it should be prepared by yourself respectively, and then you are ready to come back with a better preparation than if you had a break, which is totally not recommended from my side, as I tried it and it was not a best decision. However, it's a precious experience because I can share it with you today.
Exactly. And you mentioned about mentorship, so you might explain to people the advantages of being mentor or being mentee.
Sure, of course. When I went to Toastmasters, I was inspired to join the organization by a friend of mine named Justina. And she told me one day, you can choose a mentor one day, please see the people, talk to people, and so on. And generally, I decided to choose a friend of mine whose name is Federico. The base of effective mentorship is a good relationship between two people. It's not about some, let's say, stuff. It should be like that. This one should be like that. No, these people, first of all, should have some at least similar values and thinking, way of thinking. Of course, they should be open to each other, to be fair enough, because this cooperation also takes time. Regarding the mentor, because I am mentee and a mentor of other people as well. So regarding the mentor, this is also not only giving something, the knowledge, experience, support, and so on. It's also taking, just like in whole Toastmasters. We are giving and we are taking something. What we are taking? We are taking experience from our mentees as well, because many times they are able to inspire us to something. Not looking so far. I was inspired by one of my mentee named Eva, who decided to make a kind of recording some time ago, and it inspired me to think about something similar related to pathos. From a mentee side, this is extremely important, because for example, especially when you are stuck with something, with project, with your progress, you don't know exactly what to do, and generally you put in doubt everything what was related with joining to Toastmasters, if it makes sense or not at all. This is a really good time to talk to your mentor, to ask him or her what he or she thinks. Of course, not only mentor, because there are many other people in our club and we all are open and friendly. But generally, as mentee, you're trying to not only to learn something about some operational stuff, how to use this, how to use that, how to prepare a speech, but also how to overcome the difficulties we all are facing. The situation related to lack of inspiration, lack of ideas, about some doubts related to the sense of Toastmasters, relating to your personal or professional life. Maybe you cannot see any, let's say, matching between these two activities. How it can influence on me, on my further development. So generally, the effective mentorship means effective relationship between these people. To have trust, credibility, friendship, and total support from each other. Not forgetting about respect, of course, because this is total basic stuff.
It's a great feeling actually when you see your mentee going from basically shaking on stage to being an experienced, competent speaker.
You know, some time ago, I was a kind of manager of volleyball team in amateur league. Okay, it was not anything serious, but a very nice adventure in my life. And we played together for 5 years. However, last 2 of them, I was rather a manager or somehow trainer, something like that, than a player. And you know what? The most joyful moments for me was the last 2 years. When I was watching on these people, when they tried to win a match, to get a medal, they finally got a bronze one, which was a really great success for us. Because comparing to other teams, we didn't have a professional trainer, at least a teacher from physical education, something like that. Our trainings was rather related to integrate together after work, not rather about preparing for some special combinations and so on. We just wanted to enjoy time spending with each other and also practicing sports we really liked. That's why it was really moving to me when I saw how they tried what they achieved, much more than when I was on the field playing with them. And the same I feel about mentoring. When you can see your mentee on the stage, and for example, okay, the speech was really good. I remember the case when one of my mentees gave an icebreaker. I almost had tears in my ears because I was so surprised that icebreaker can be so good. To be honest, I didn't have too much to say as a point of improvement. And I was really sure that it's going to be a very easy way to go further. However, there was a situation that somehow she didn't achieve her objectives in next projects. Okay, and it can always happen. It can always happen that, for example, you have bad days and better days. The same is with projects. Some of them are more suitable to you, some of them are not. Everything is related to our duties, to our everyday life and experiences. And it was like the situation. Sometimes we need to spend some more time to prepare something. But this is really, really great thing when you can see the effects of the cooperation. Especially, because I don't treat it like that. That, for example, okay, I'm suggesting something and she's taking that without a word, giving a performance, it is okay. That's not it. You know what I like in my mentees? That it's enough to say a word as a kind of encouragement, just slight one. And basing on that, she is going to surprise me with ideas that wouldn't come to my head. This is really good stuff. And I think mentoring between people as we are, it's not like shaking your hand and leading from one place to another, but just to inspire, just give a tip. And after that, this what makes me really happy of the effect is just to see how my mentee is dealing with difficulties, how she attracts the audience, how creative she is, how motivated and how appreciated by whole the club she becomes. This is really something that makes me glad that I had the honor to be a part of preparation for this success.
Very good. And we were actually discussing before we started the podcast, because you're aware that the feedback that I've kept every single one. Sometimes there's the evaluator, of course, but a lot of the times they give a slip of paper to the audience for comments, and I know you're the same. So, you can tell people how valuable something like that can be.
Guys, to be honest, I couldn't wait to read what I got yesterday. It was very significant and very meaningful and important to me to give yesterday's speech, because it was related to pathways. It was a kind of workshop to show some people how to use it efficiently and quickly, to encourage them and popularize the new program, by the way. And actually this morning, when I got up, I took my shirt I had yesterday and took up from the pocket some evaluation ballots from our team. I must say that I find over there very important messages. The things I was not aware that what was done. For me, this is really important and encouraging. Of course, many of them are good speech. It was really needed. It was essential. You were great. Your voice was okay, and so on and so forth. This is something that builds our self-confidence. Okay, so these steps we've got somehow tamed. But except of that, there are also points of improvement. And this is what makes Toastmasters really great environment to learn. There is always respect. There is always the goal to support us, not to criticize us, not to make us down, but to support us, to help us. For example, I would suggest that you should feel as the host when you are on the stage. You are the owner of the stage and what is happening with your speech, because you are responsible also for the message, but also for the time spending over there. I'm going to be evaluated on many fields. That's why I should also manage the audience, what is happening over there. When I'm asking the questions, it should be somehow compacted as a question and answer. If there is this discussion, it's extending our time and also starting something similar to facilitating some meetings as they are popular on TV, for example. It's completely different projects and completely different time schedule. So we need to be aware of owning and having the responsibility for all these 7 minutes we've got, or more, it depends on the project, that we are the owners of this time and we should manage it efficiently to pass the message and watch not to be disturbed by anything, and just be careful, because it should be understandable and easy to be passed about the message.
Excellent. Well, Radek, I see that we're close to an hour, so I want to thank you for coming here. I always enjoy our conversations, but I know that the information that you've given has been fantastic for the listeners, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Roy. It was very nice to participate in your great project named podcast. Thank you very much to the audience. I hope I didn't make you bored, so maybe see you next time.
They're asleep.
Have a great day.
They're asleep, so they're not hearing your message. Okay, take care, everybody. So I hope you got some value from that conversation, and if you have any questions or you like certain episodes, please let me know, roy@speakingpodcast.com. As mentioned at the start, you can find me on speakingpodcast.com, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook @speakingpodcast, and be sure to share, listen to previous episodes, and I would be grateful if you could give us a positive review. Thank you very much for listening.